All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. You close quote. I noticed that it begins with exit and entrances. I don't know if during Shakespeare's time you begin by exiting, then you enter. But that's how it is in the play. And most interestingly, there are a few items, I don't know how they have arranged it. I'm supposed to hand over to you. I think the Constitution.
Yes, yeah, I will
to conduct that. Okay. I'm told I'm jumping the ship. Okay. You see, this is the beauty of leaving office now. You can afford to forget certain things. Or your grandchildren, long line, what I do today may be reaped 100 years from today. That is the Lord working. Because 100 years is nothing to God. I think in the hymn, oh God, our help in ages past, our hope in years to come. I think all of us know whether you're Catholic or Protestant. There's one which says 1,000 ages in God's sight is like an evening gone. So if Jane Frances Aboda has got her blessing today, something she did not expect has come her way. She must go back to the 10th generation, my Lord. You're being blessed for something which happened 10 generations ago. You know, I started by addressing my Lord Justice Dr. Flavian Zeija as Deputy Chief Justice and Acting Chief Justice. I need to clarify one thing. I ceased being Chief Justice at midnight last night. Having clocked 70 good years on earth, it so happens that the day was Sunday, and our calendar does not provide for work, public work on Sundays. So the function which we're performing now ought to have been performed yesterday. And then, whether we performed this function yesterday, today, or much later, the Deputy Chief Justice of Uganda, by constitutional provision, automatically becomes Acting Chief Justice upon the retirement of a serving Chief Justice. So it doesn't require any instrument, an additional instrument to seize that office, and what we're doing here is just a formality in recognition of a reality of an occurrence that has taken place. So, my Lord, Acting Chief Justice, and every one of us present here, it is with a deep sense of fulfillment that I formally hand over the office of Chief Justice of Uganda. This is just a formal handover. The law has taken its course. Yesterday, Sunday the 18th, January 2026, marked my 70th year on earth, hence the constitutional requirement for retirement from judicial service and the office of Chief Justice. The consequential function we are witnessing today gives effect to this reality, and I submit thereto with a clear conscience. The inevitability of transition is best brought out by William Shakespeare in his famous, oft-quoted, open quote, "World is a stage," close quote, passage. In his work, in quotes, "As You Like It." For those of you who are not interested in Shakespeare, I urge you to read these tragedies and comedies. In the play As You Like It, you'll find in Act 2, Scene 7, where Shakespeare captures the moment like the one of today in the following words, open quote, "All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages." You close quote. I noticed that it begins with exit and entrances. I don't know if during Shakespeare's time you begin by exiting, then you enter. I don't, but that's how it is in the play. And most interestingly, Shakespeare speaks of 7 ages. And the Constitution of Uganda says, when you reach the 7th floor, you must exit the office of Chief Justice. And that is what has happened. That's what happened last night at exactly midnight. I ceased being the Chief Justice of the Republic of Uganda. Now, while the occupant of the office of Chief Justice is often given credit for the achievements made in and by the judiciary, I must be categorical in pointing out that the achievements registered during my tenure as Chief Justice were never the work of one individual. They were not mine alone. They were the product of collective effort, shared vision, and institutional teamwork. My first meeting as Chief Justice, I made it clear to the management team, the top management team, that in all the responsibilities I've held, in all the offices in life I have held, including in my family, if there is credit attributed to the institution or the family or the group of persons where I am head, I always insist and prefer that the credit be given to the entire group. However, where there is a liability, where there is blame, I prefer to shoulder it as head of the family, head of the institution, or head of the group. This is because I sanction myself and say, under my leadership, we could have done better. So I do not require that I have to be culpable to take responsibility. I take responsibility even where I had no knowledge of the happenings. Once they happen under my charge, I take that responsibility, and that's the spirit with which we began our work. In this regard, I would like to convey my deep appreciation and indebtedness to members of the top management of the judiciary. To wit, Deputy Chief Justice Richard Butera, who is now retired, Principal Judge Dr. Flavian Zeja, who is now Deputy Chief Justice and Acting Chief Justice, Chief Registrar Sarah Langa Siu, who is now a judge of the High Court, and the Permanent Secretary to the Judiciary, Dr. Pius Bigirimana, with whom we come a long way, slightly over 40 years. With all of these together, I had the privilege to manage the affairs of the judiciary for the past 5 years. You recall, I've always been uneasy when referred to as a boss of the judiciary or of any institution or of any group that I'm privileged to lead. I have constantly considered myself merely as a first among equals, That is my style of administration. That I do not bring more than the other persons in the administration or in the group. We all make our contribution that make the body, the institution, the entity a better performer. So I'm merely first among equals, for many reasons, including that at the end of the day, it is my signature which is reflected. Therefore, whatever achievements that we have registered in the judiciary in the last 5 years must be attributed to each and all of us in the top management of the judiciary, the persons I've named. In the latter years, in the concluding time, I also had the privilege of working with 2 new people, the acting principal judge Jane Okuo Kajuga and acting chief registrar Pamela Lamono Ochaya. These added more meaning to my belief that within the judiciary, within the body polity of our country, there are innumerable persons who take responsibility seriously. There are a innumerable number of people who know why they are given offices to hold. I equally hail my colleagues in the Supreme Court for the collegiality, candidness, and deep sense of purpose with which we discharge our constitutional mandate. Our mature exercise of individual independence enriched our deliberations and strengthened the quality of jurisprudence and justice we rendered. It has been a monumental honor to serve together with each and all of you as peers and friends. To the entire judiciary at all levels, I extend my heartfelt gratitude. I acknowledge the immense contribution made by the justices of the Court of Appeal Constitutional Court and judges of the High Court to the dispensation of justice. You've performed admirably well, and I urge you to continue with that spirit. The magisterial courts have been and remain the face and backbone of the judiciary to justice seekers, for they stand where the law meets realities of life. I leave this office with the knowledge that they, as the software of access to justice, will make us proud by ensuring that the ordinary justice seeker gets justice. Each of us must, in time, make our exit